The young and the restless spoilers' shadows of deception. Claire tightened her grip on the steering wheel as the dark road stretched endlessly ahead. Her heart raced, but not with fear, this time it was determination. The shadows of her past had loomed over her life for too long, and now, the predator had become the prey. Jordan thought she could manipulate Claire like before, but she had underestimated how much Claire had changed. Jordan's plan was clear: kidnap Claire's niece, her only living family, to lure Claire into her web. But Claire was ready. The moment she heard of Jordan's presence, every nerve in her body went on high alert. She wasn't the same timid woman who had once cowered in Jordan's shadow. Years of survival had sharpened her instincts, and more importantly, she had learned to fight back. The confrontation. Claire tracked Jordan down to an abandoned cabin deep in the woods, where the showdown began. The tension crackled in the air as Jordan's mocking voice filled the room. "You think you can stop me, Claire?" Jordan sneered, her eyes glinting with malice. "You're nothing without your fear of me." But Jordan's taunts fell flat. Claire's voice was steady as she stepped forward, knife clenched in her hand. "You're wrong, Jordan. I'm not afraid of you anymore." What followed was a blur of movement, shouts, and the clash of willpower. Jordan was relentless, but Claire fought with the ferocity of someone protecting not just herself, but everything she held dear. In the chaos, Claire's blade found its mark. Jordan's eyes widened in shock as she staggered back, collapsing to the floor. Blood pooled around her lifeless body, staining the wooden planks a deep crimson. Claire stood frozen, the knife slipping from her trembling hands. Her mind raced, terror creeping in, not of Jordan, but of what she had just done. Kyle's promise. The sound of footsteps startled her. Claire whirled around, her breath hitching as Kyle emerged from the shadows. His face was a mix of concern and resolve as he took in the scene before him. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, pulling her into his arms. "Claire," he murmured, his voice steady despite the situation. "Look at me. Trust me. I'll take care of this." Tears blurred Claire's vision as she clung to him. "What do we do, Kyle? I didn't mean for this to happen. She was going to take my niece. I had no choice." Kyle brushed her hair back gently. "You don't have to explain. I believe you. But we can't let anyone find out. I'll make sure no one ever does." Together, they worked under the cover of darkness, digging a shallow grave in the dense forest nearby. The cold earth clung to their hands as they lowered Jordan's body into the ground, burying her past and their secret along with it. Claire felt her chest tighten as the final mound of dirt was packed down. They left the scene hurriedly, their faces pale and their hands shaking, but their resolve unbroken. Ian Ward's sinister scheme. Claire and Kyle thought they had covered their tracks, but they didn't know that someone else had been watching. Hidden in the shadows, Ian Ward had seen everything. Ian, a man known for his ruthless cunning and lack of morals, had captured their secret in a series of photographs: Claire's anguished face, the grave being dug, and Kyle's determined expression. A sinister smile crept across Ian's face as he reviewed the photos on his camera. This was leverage. Powerful leverage. He knew the truth could destroy Claire and Kyle, and that gave him the upper hand. A deadly bargain. The next morning, Claire found an envelope slipped under the door of the motel room she and Kyle had rented. Inside were the photographs, along with a note written in Ian's unmistakable scrawl: "I know what you've done. Don't think you can outrun this. You'll hear from me soon, and when you do, you'll obey. Or everyone will know your secret." Claire's blood ran cold as she read the note. She handed it to Kyle, her hands shaking. "He knows," she whispered. "Ian knows everything." Kyle read the note, his jaw tightening. "We won't let him control us. Ian may think he has the upper hand, but we'll find a way to stop him." But Claire wasn't so sure. Ian's reputation was notorious. He had a way of twisting people's lives to suit his own purposes, and now, he had them exactly where he wanted them. The weight of their secret pressed heavily on her chest, threatening to crush her resolve. The beginning of the end as days turned into weeks, Ian began to make his demands. First, it was money, large sums that Claire and Kyle struggled to pull together. But Ian wasn't just after financial gain. His requests grew darker, more personal. He wanted Claire to betray others, to manipulate those close to her, all in exchange for his silence. Claire found herself spiraling into a web of lies and deceit, her once clear sense of right and wrong blurring with each decision. Kyle stood by her side, determined to protect her, but even he began to question how far they could go to keep their secret buried. Unbeknownst to them, Ian had no intention of stopping. To him, Claire and Kyle were pawns in a much larger game, one that he intended to win at any cost. A fight for freedom. The question now wasn't whether Claire and Kyle could escape Ian's grasp, but whether they could confront the darkness they had unleashed and find redemption. Could they outsmart Ian and reclaim their lives? Or would the secret they buried in the forest consume them entirely? As the shadows of their actions closed in around them, one thing became clear: the fight for their freedom was only just beginning. Beneath the earth, Jordan's revenge. The forest was eerily silent as the cold winter wind swept through the trees, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. Days had passed since Claire and Kyle buried Jordan, and while they had tried to move on, an unshakable tension lingered between them. Neither spoke of that night, yet it haunted their every waking moment. But Jordan's story wasn't over. Buried in the shallow grave, her body had been left for dead, but Jordan had always been a survivor. The wound Claire inflicted had been severe, but not fatal. The weight of the soil pressed against her, suffocating her, but desperation fueled her will to live. Clawing through the dirt with bloodied hands, Jordan emerged from the grave like a specter of vengeance. Bruised, battered, and driven by rage, she disappeared into the shadows. There was no doubt in her mind what she would do next. Claire and Kyle would pay, and she would make them regret ever crossing her. The weight of guilt. Meanwhile, Claire struggled with the weight of what they had done. Kyle tried to reassure her, but her nerves were frayed. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them, that somehow their secret wouldn't stay buried. One evening, as Claire sat alone in their motel room, her phone buzzed with an anonymous message. Opening it, her stomach dropped, a photo of her and Kyle burying Jordan, along with the caption, "Secrets never stay buried. Ian." She ran to Kyle, showing him the message. His face darkened as he read it. "Ian's playing with us," he said through clenched teeth. "He wants control, but we can't let him manipulate us." "But what if he tells someone?" Claire whispered. "What if he already has?" Kyle put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we fight back. Whatever it takes." Ian Ward's true intentions. Ian Ward wasn't a man to waste opportunities. To him, the photographs weren't just blackmail material, they were keys to power. Ian had a long history of exploiting the vulnerable, and Claire and Kyle were perfect targets. But his plan went beyond money or simple manipulation. Ian's true goal was control, not just over Claire and Kyle, but over the larger web of connections they were tied to. He saw potential in the chaos they had created. If he could turn their actions into leverage, he could expand his influence and pull others into his web of deceit. His demands began subtly: money, minor favors, access to Kyle's business contacts. But as the weeks went on, Ian's requests became more dangerous. He wanted Claire to plant evidence against a local politician he despised. He wanted Kyle to sabotage a rival's company. The couple found themselves spiraling deeper into Ian's trap, each choice pulling them further from the lives they once knew. The return of Jordan. Unbeknownst to Claire and Kyle, Ian wasn't their only problem. Jordan was alive, and she was coming for them. After escaping the grave, Jordan had spent weeks recovering, hiding in the shadows and piecing together what had happened. Her rage burned brighter with each passing day. She knew Ian had the photos, and she saw an opportunity. If she could align herself with Ian, she could destroy Claire and Kyle, and perhaps reclaim the power she had lost. One night, Ian received an unexpected visitor. Jordan, alive and furious, walked into his hideout, her presence both shocking and menacing. "Ian," she said, her voice cold and sharp. You have something I want. Ian raised an eyebrow, unshaken by her sudden appearance. And what would that be? Leverage, she replied. Those photos. I know you have them, and I want in. Ian smirked. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting to see you. You're full of surprises, Jordan. But tell me, why should I share my leverage with you? Jordan stepped closer, her eyes blazing with determination. Because I'm the one they tried to kill. If anyone deserves revenge, it's me. And if you don't give me what I want, I'll make sure you regret it. Ian considered her words. He admired her tenacity, and he recognized the value in having her as an ally. Together, they could dismantle Claire and Kyle's lives piece by piece. Fine, Ian said finally. We'll work together. But don't forget, I'm the one in charge. Jordan smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. She had no intention of playing second fiddle to Ian, but for now, she needed him. The unraveling Claire and Kyle's world began to crumble as Ian and Jordan's alliance took shape. The anonymous threats became more frequent, and strange things started happening around them. Their car tires were slashed. Their motel room was broken into. Notes were left, reminding them that their secret wasn't safe. One night, Claire awoke to find a message scrawled on the bathroom mirror in red lipstick. You buried me, but I'm not gone. J. Panic consumed her. She's alive, Claire whispered to Kyle, her voice trembling. Jordan's alive. Kyle's face hardened. If that's true, then we need to end this for good. A final confrontation. The stage was set for a final showdown. Claire and Kyle decided to confront Ian, hoping to put an end to his blackmail. They followed him to a secluded warehouse, unaware that Jordan was waiting for them. When they arrived, the confrontation quickly turned violent. Ian revealed his plans to expose them, while Jordan reveled in their terror. You thought you could get rid of me, she taunted. Now you'll see what real fear looks like. In the chaos, alliances shifted. Ian underestimated Jordan's ruthlessness, and she turned on him, attacking him with a broken bottle. As Ian fell, clutching his wounds, Claire and Kyle saw their chance to escape. But Jordan wasn't done with them yet. A fierce struggle ensued, and Claire found herself face to face with the woman she thought she had killed. This time, Claire didn't hesitate. She fought back with everything she had, determined to protect herself and Kyle. In the end, Jordan fell once more, her reign of terror finally brought to an end. Aftermath. With Ian incapacitated and Jordan dead, for real this time, Claire and Kyle buried their secrets once again. But the scars of their actions remained, a constant reminder of how far they had been pushed and the darkness they had embraced. They vowed to rebuild their lives, but they knew the past would always haunt them. Trust had been shattered, and the shadows of their choices loomed large. But for now, they were free.